For any number of reasons, people had serious problems with Leaves of Grass. These lines will be one of those reasons. Oh, to struggle against great odds, to meet enemies undaunted. We're going to hear this word in Song of the Exposition, number 7. To be entirely alone with them, to find how much one can stand. Again, going back to that nothing exterior shall ever take command of me. To find how much one can stand. To look strife, torture, prison, popular odium, face to face. Remember, we saw this phrasing in Song of the Answerer. To mount the scaffold, to advance to the muzzles of guns with perfect nonchalance. We think about Walter's Secret Life of Walter Mitty in the very end of that little amazing short story. You'll remember this word nonchalance was used 1 hour to madness and joy. And then he finishes this set of lines by saying, to be indeed a god. Now, this is of course going to be radical language for when it's published. Let's point out 2 things really quickly. First of all, notice he doesn't say to be God. He says to be a God. In other words, divinity of some kind, borrowing obviously heavily from Emerson's idea of the human as divine. And then secondly, go back to what we said in Song of Myself, passage 48, about God there. Why should I wish to see God better than this day? I see something of God in the face of every man. So you can go back to that set of lines. And then he finishes taking us to looking forward already to passage to India. Oh, to sail to sea in a ship. To leave this steady, unendurable land. We're back to Homer's Odyssey as well as Yeats' sailing to Byzantium. To leave the tiresome sameness of the streets, the sidewalks, and the houses. To leave you, oh, you solid, motionless land. And entering a ship, to sail and sail and sail. So Song of Joys is going to finish with this word picture of getting in a boat and sailing away. The freedom that's involved in that. And for those of you that love Pete Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, obviously at the conclusion of that famous trilogy, you have that getting on a boat to sail away. It's a powerful image, right? As we said in our exegesis of Yeats' sailing to Byzantium, that is no country for old men. That is to say, therefore I have sailed the seas and come to the holy city of Byzantium. This idea of sailing. The final lines now of this poem. Oh, and we're at number 40 of the worst use of the word oh. Oh, to have life henceforth a poem of new joys. Borrowing very much, in our reading, in our study of this, from Nietzsche's idea that you can build your life as a poem, as art, and he'll use this idea a number of times in Leaves of Grass, that you can contribute a verse to the drama, he will say elsewhere. To dance, clap hands, exult, go back to, or find later Pioneers, oh pioneers, and see exult is used there that way. Shout, skip, leap, roll on, float on. Of course, this idea of floating or swimming and dashing with the hair, back to passage 46 of Song of Myself. To be a sailor of the world, bound for all ports. We're going to get to this in passage to India. Right? A ship itself. See indeed these sails. Leaves now become sails. I spread to the sun and air. A swift and swelling ship full of rich words. Full of joys. It's as if he sees Leaves of Grass itself as an amazing ship that can sail over time and space. And of course we saw this already in Crossing Brooklyn's Ferry, didn't we? This is an amazing little poem because it brings together so many of the word pictures and themes we've been reading and seeing in Leaves of Grass. How do we finish now in 2a? Well, the life of the spirit obviously will transcend the life of the body or the flesh. There is joy, Whitman will argue, if we are willing to see it. Even in the most excruciatingly horrifying and terrible experiences, we think of war, he can still find joy. At 2b, well, obviously the repetitions are here. All of those O's, 41 of them, 51 exclamation points. We have the word joy or joys being used 38 times. The attempt to try to use language to capture exuberance. That's really what he's about. At 3a, we mentioned Moby Dick in 1851. I think it stands behind some of the images here. Obviously, Emerson's self-reliance comes to mind, as does Thoreau's Walden. I'd like us to think about Emily Dickinson's Hope is the Thing with Feathers as well. A little poem that works rather nicely with this reading. Finally, at 3b, and how can we own a poem like this? What brings you the most joy in your life? From this poem, what was your favorite image in all of the different images of this poem? And finally, why is it so difficult to learn to ask in the moment of suffering, why is this happening for me, rather than why is this happening to me? I hope that this poem is challenging you to begin to try and think about asking that question in your own life and to find the joy. While everybody else maybe around you is not so much about finding the joy, challenge yourself to try and find the joy. And from this now little poem, we move on to 12 sections of Song of the Broad Axe, another amazing celebratory poem. I hope you're being challenged. Thank you.